morning, everyone. I am Ravi Gupta. I am editor-in-chief of a magazine called Banking and Finance Post. We have been publishing this magazine for last 7 years now, and we have been running several conferences on banking and finance sector all over the country. And today, we are going to have an interesting discussion on the revival of the economy post COVID-19. And we are joined by two eminent speakers right now with us. Uh, our first speaker is Shri Rajgopal Devraji. He is an IS officer and he is the Principal Secretary for Finance uh, in the government of Maharashtra. And our other speaker is Shri Raman Agrawal. He is the chairman of the Finance Industry Development Council, FIDC, which mostly focuses on the NBFC sector. So, my first question to our eminent speakers is that how you think has the economy got impacted by the COVID-19 situation? What is your assessment of the situation? So to start with, I am going to request Shri Rajgopal Devraji to speak first.
Good morning, Ravi. Thank you for the invite. Good morning to Raman also for joining us. Yes. Good morning. See, today it's almost like 45 days since we are in lockdown. Almost like 2 months since the COVID, 2.5 months since the virus has reached Indian shores. So since then, life in India has totally changed, isn't it?
Yes.
The way we work, the way we interact, the way we go out, the way we run our offices have undergone a tremendous change. And today, what we are doing, otherwise we would have done it in a good luxury environment of a 5-star hotel listed by the big. Yes. But see, today we are sitting and doing an online webinar. This is how life has changed. I believe it is going to be the new normal for some more time to come, unless we have either a vaccine to beat vaccine or a cure for COVID. Otherwise, we should have something else to see quickly test us whether we are affected by virus or not. Suppose I am going to my office, or going to a hotel, or going to a restaurant, or going to a club. They may set up a small instrument wherein they can quickly check my temperature, my virus status, and see, then they let me inside. Unless and until we have these three conditions in place, life is going to be what it is now. It may not be like in January or December. So the lifestyle has totally changed. It did impact economy. Has tremendously impacted huge damages done. The totally economy is in standstill since the lockdown. Economy, even before that in Mumbai and Maharashtra, we did have some reminiscences of lockdown, but actual lockdown started after about 1st of March. Yes, things have changed totally.
So I will request you to keep your laptop a bit near so that voice is a bit more audible. Okay? So may I request Raman to talk about the economic impact as you see till now, Raman?
Yeah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and it's pleasure to be, co-panelist with Mr. Devra, who's done a tremendous job in preparing that report for Government of Maharashtra. Yes, so I think, we used to all hear about a world called disruption, especially in the past few years. But I think no one in the world could have ever imagined a disruption as big and as sudden and as unforeseen as this. Imagine a small virus has put the entire world into a standstill. Everything, everyone is locked up. And this is something I think, as they say, there is always a lesson in crisis, and there are a lot of things people are learning. We as individuals are learning, our children are learning, the elders are learning, and similarly, the policymakers are learning. Because we are seeing a situation everywhere, every sector is impacted. Now, coming specifically, since I come from the financial services, what I see a big impact is the importance of the delivery of credit in the market, because credit plays a huge role when it comes to running any economy, whether it's, since I have worked all my life and spent years in, advocating for the non-banking financial companies in India, which is a very, very unique and one of its kind sector in the world, because nowhere you find such a robust sector as NBFCs. And we cater to the real bottom of the pyramid. That means the real small-time people like auto rickshaw driver, e-rickshaw driver, a tempo driver, a very small shopkeeper. So anybody doing a small business, small running, you can call a small enterprise, because even an auto rickshaw by itself is an enterprise, have been the worst affected by this lockdown, because their revenue streams have totally dried up. As a result, now the point is that yes, on one hand you look at repayments, on one hand you look at how things will shape up. The way we see it is that forget about repayments for some time. I think these people need additional support. And that is where we have seen, and fortunately, I think we have a very, very vibrant and responsive government. And I think one thing, let me add from my personal experience, and I think Mr. Devra would agree with me. I think as a country, we really need to take pride and thank all the governments. I mean, no singling out, central government, all the state governments are working in perfect coordination, tandem today, and all efforts are being jointly made, and the results we are seeing. We have seen, and the world is appreciating India, the way we have responded to it. It's not easy to put a country of 130 million people into lockdown in one shot, and that too for so long. It's not easy to formulate policies which are implemented across the country, because we are a federal system, and we have state governments coming from various political backgrounds. But the good thing is that everybody is working jointly in a very, very coordinated manner. And that is where I see a lot of hope. We see a lot of hope, because when you suffer and when the people at the ground suffer, and when you find somebody listening to them, ready to listen to them, I think that is a big, big comfort. So I think it's a challenge, yes, but being a highly optimistic man, I always see that we should find and learn lessons and opportunities in these crises going forward.
So thanks, Raman, for highlighting the role of government in this situation. As we know that except government, mostly all other things are not working. All other things are in lockdown. So ALETS has reached out to more than 70 odd officers across various states, across various levels, from Jilla Panchayats to the district level to the state level, and various department, agriculture department, food supply, transport, and we have tried to do an interaction with them on the webinar and ask them that how are they dealing with the situation, what are the challenges they are facing and all. So each story is an amazing story, from Agra to Bhilwara to Mandsaur to Thane to, we have reached out to lots of officers and amazing challenges. Like each city has its own challenges, and each city is unique, each village is unique. So managing crisis is a humongous task, and hats off to our government officials for doing this. Now, let's look at the situation on the economy. Like many rating agencies and other agencies like ADB, IMF, World Bank, S&P, and others have like come out with GDP predictions between 1%, someone saying 0.5%, someone saying 0%, and someone saying a negative GDP growth. We are listening about the various job losses, sector after sector, happening every day in the newspapers, from retail sector to automobile sector to construction sector, real estate, uh, you name it and you have it. So in this situation, I think government, like all the state governments, are looking at ways of revival of the economy. And Mr. Raj Gopal Devra, uh, he at the government of Maharashtra, just they have created a report about revival of the economy of the state. So may I request Raj Gopal Devra ji to kindly talk about the committee which looked at this situation of issues about revival, and what inputs you got from various sectors about this revival issues.
We see, well, I was a member, I'm a member, I was part of the drafting committee of this expert group. However, the recommendations, as it is, had to be given in the public domain, I cannot divulge
Of course.
recommendations of the committee.
Yes, yes, yes.
But during the discussions and interactions we had with the various experts, apart from that, the media is reporting, electronic media is reporting, you have interactions, you see, visualize things. So during lockdown period, as Raman said, the entire economy has completed. There are various sectors who have taken different levels of hit. Some sectors are hit really hard, and some sectors are not that hardly hit. But however, the damage to these sectors, entire economy, as you said, IMF has come out with a prediction, ADB has come out with a prediction. Everyone is predicting our GDP would be down by say 2%, 1.5%. Someone said 1.9%. Someone said it may be a zero growth rate. So various estimates are there by different economies. Apart from all of these things, practically what you see is that the economy has come to a standstill, which is a fact everyone has to accept. How do you go further? What industries are impacted mostly, which are hit hard? But do they see any chances of revival in the future? If it is there, how long it will take for the economy to revive? So these are the questions to be addressed. I believe our eminent economists are addressing these issues. Definitely, some of these issues we did try to cover. But as a result of lockdown, what we see is the frontline industries, like the tourism industry, the travel industry, the transport sector, okay, the leisure industry, which is also a major industry generating a lot of employment. All these industries have a lot of employment potential. So all these industries are closed since the lockdown. But there are some sectors which are working, but they may be working at 20%, 30%, 40%. Once the lockdown opens up, probably they may work at, say, another 30, 40%. But economy to come into full stream, it may take months and 2-3 quarters to come at 2-3 quarters, I believe. So until then, how do you manage the economy? How do you address the issues and problems of different sections of the society? That's where public policy steps in. So different governments, different levels of government at the state level, Government of India is doing its best, Government of India, by announcing different packages. As Raman said, I believe Raman industry, that is, which is the financial sector, already they have got some liquidity lines given by RBI. They are getting liquidity available. But at what rate? How is the market doing? Bond market doing? That one needs to see it. However, the frontline industries, which are severely impacted by COVID, but the two reasons. The two reasons are, one, as a result of lockdown, they have shut down. That way, entire economy, all sectors are shut down. But these frontline sectors are shut down for not just because of lockdown, but otherwise the nature of the disease, the nature of virus. Now we know the social distancing, sanitizers, masking. These have become compulsory part of life. They become your like your pant shirt. They also mask becomes your permanent equipment to carry on. So, given these social distancing norms and hygienic standards, these industries are going to be are hit hard, and they are going to their survival will be at a great risk.
Sure. Raman, as a NBFC sector, NBFC deals with nearly all the sectors of the economy: housing sector, transport sector, retail sector, automobile sector. You name a sector, and like NBFCs are active in those sectors to provide loans to people. So as you like look at the chart of the NBFC, NBFCs have a diverse portfolio of loans given to people. So which are the sectors you are seeing that will be hit the hardest, and which will be on a more safer zone? Raman.
So I think, yeah, and I think Mr. Devra did mention about it, because see, what happens is the word lockdown is first that you are practically stopping all movements of people movement. So what does that mean? If you look at on the ground level, obviously travel industry is the first one to get hit because people stop traveling. Then things like anything related to transport, whether it's goods movement, passenger movement, because passenger movement is a very, very big sector by itself, whether you talk of, cross country or within the country, interstate, intrastate, intercity, within city, metro, local transportation, everything stops. So obviously all those transport operators are badly hit. And the pain is really bad for the small ones. As I said, the small, where you have owner driven vehicles, so as I said earlier, quoted an auto rickshaw driver or a one driver owning one or two taxis or a tempo. So those are all totally stopped. Then of course comes the tourism industry. So whether you talk of, things like eating joints, restaurants, hotels, resorts, etc., entertainment, anything relating to entertainment, event industry, and of course sports industry also, because you suddenly see all sports events gone, even to the extent we are seeing Olympics have been postponed. We don't know when will they happen. And these are sectors which have a lot of ancillary industries associated. And real small time people also are associated who may not be at the forefront, but working at the back. And all are badly hit. So for them, it's a big, big challenge. On the other hand, okay, let's look at, say, the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, logistics industry in a different shape. For example, you see an excellent example, I'm quoting names here. You see Uber, which was till now running passenger movement, is now coordinating with e-com companies to do deliveries. So these are the trying of structural changes some sectors have taken up, very, very wisely done so, very innovatively done so, and we will see more things happen. So while there are challenges, as I said, it's always important to look for new opportunities, because such situations, when things stop, history has shown, as they say, change is the only constant in life. We were just galloping at a speed, presuming everything is fine. Suddenly everything stops. You need to think, where did we go wrong? Where did we lack? And there may be some new opportunities coming in. There may be some new directions to be taken in. And that is where I think the opportunities is for us. As I said, our real small time borrowers are badly hit. But yes, government and RBI have given some relief, but still there are a lot of challenges which we can discuss as we go ahead. I think initially I would put it there.
Great.
See, Ravi, as you said, as
Sure.
Raman said, let us take one sector
Sure.
which is really hit hard, which is the transport sector.
Yes.
See, today you don't see any transport whatsoever. except the owner-driven vehicles, nothing is moving. And either railways, even the civil aviation, wherein we have a huge funds deployed and the investments done and the loans given and other things. So how do we manage this industry once the lockdown opens? Do you see once the lockdown opens, do you see any chance of the civil aviation industry once again coming back into normalcy, restarting their flights? So that's the question mark. Actually, unless and until we have some solution to coronavirus and social distancing, as far as we know, unless we have vaccine or some way, social distancing is going to be normal.
Yes.
So how do you travel in a flight? So how many passengers a flight can take? Can these flights operate by say 30% capacity, 40% capacity, or 35% capacity? What are their operation costs? So it is a huge. And how does this shape up is essential to understand. Apart from that, we have many other industries, they may disappear. See, like in tourism, most of these travel portals and other things who have executives, hotels running and tourism and business trips. These may not be working today after even for the next 2-3 months. So as a result, you have a lot of unemployment generation in the youth. So where do we deploy these people who have exited from these sectors? Is a challenging role. That's where probably government should focus and see how we reskill these people and deploy them in new sectors which are upcoming. As Raman said, no, there are some opportunities also in this crisis. So those opportunities one needs to seize, catch hold of it, and see how we can deploy these forces, this manpower, which is coming out of these industry, and then deploy them into a new industry. So that their employment and their income generation is however, in the entire process, the vulnerable groups, as he said, no, the drivers, cleaners, maids, informal sector. The entire informal sector who depend, households who depend on daily wages for their living, the pain to them is unbelievable. That's where the government also needs to step in and see what best can be done. But various countries have come out with different packages. You know, the US president has come out with a package of $2 trillion, which is 10% of their GDP. Likewise, even South Korea has come out with a package, which is almost like 8% of the GDP. Other countries like China has come out with a package. Even Britain has come out with a package. So various countries, European and American countries, Brazil has come out with a 5% GDP package for revival. So various governments are coming out with different packages, different models to address these issues. Even Government of India already the first package is declared. Probably there will be some more things in offering and leave. Let us hope and hope for the best.
Sure. Raman, will you please talk about these packages? Like many countries have these packages coming out for bailout. What package India is and for whom? If you can talk about that.
Yeah. So see, first of all, while as Mr. Devra was talking about, yes, a lot of countries in the West and even in countries like Japan and Korea, they've done a lot and they come out with some big bang announcements. Now, our government has given a clear indication that they are taking a graded approach. So don't expect something big bangs coming, but you will have frequent announcements done, as was done even the recent crisis, which was the overall economic, we were seeing slowdown. You saw a slew of measures over a period of time being announced, and government is taking that graded approach. Having said that, the point is that we are in a situation where we already saw one extension of the lockdown happening. So we are waiting for the next now, since day after tomorrow is when this lockdown ends. And the indications are that, yes, we may see a further extension with some relaxations. to do that, we also need to take care, as Mr. Devra was mentioning, about the needs and the sufferings of the people affected. Now, who are the worst affected? We obviously said the informal sector, the MSMEs, the ground level, the small people, right? Small in terms of small businesses people or small workers. So some relief needs to be done. First was announced for the absolute bottom, where they announced some direct benefit transfers were announced. Now, as we are expecting, something is coming up for the MSME segment, especially because even some courts have further taken a view that we do not, there cannot be a relaxation given in terms of wages. So you have to keep paying salaries, but there are additional costs. So the MSMEs may not have those deep pockets to bear that cost going ahead. So some support is required. And as we understand, government is working on some MSME fund or something is being worked. But as I said, credit will be a very important factor. And here NBFCs are again going to play. Fortunately, in India, as I said, we have a sector outside the banking sector, though very closely related and dependent on the banking sector also, which is providing credit deep down in semi-urban, rural, urban areas across the country. So we need to, I think, and that's what we've been trying to project, that we need to leverage on that and ensure that enough liquidity is provided to NBFCs. See, what has happened is whatever measures they have announced have given enough liquidity to banks, right? But unfortunately, I mean, I'm not going into that debate. We are seeing a scenario where more than 7 lakh crores of rupees, and I'm quoting RBI governor here in his 17th April address, he said, is still lying parked with RBI in terms of reverse repo, as they say. That's the excess funds which banks were supposed to lend, but they have parked with RBI. Now imagine a fund of more than 7 lakh crores which was supposed to be lent is lying with RBI. So that needs to trickle down. Trickle down given to people, either banks do it directly, or as I said, NBFCs are an excellent channel. We already have a lot of relationships with the bank. But there are some apprehensions and risk-averse attitude we see in the banking sector. Rightly or wrongly, they have their own reasons, which may be valid. So I think as a government and as RBI, that needs to be addressed immediately to ensure that the money doesn't get stuck. Whatever is thrown in the system actually trickles down to the bottom. And how it does it, there are ways and means, some electronic means, some DBTs, etc. JAM has been very effective in doing that. But we also need to channelize through institutions like NBFC, MFIs, housing finance companies, etc., who can trickle this absolutely to the ground. I think so. That is the foremost thing to be done now.
Ravi, about this point, actually, I just wanted to respond.
Please, sir, please.
Banks have a lot of liquidity, as the government said, even the RBI governor in one of his press conferences said, there is a lot of liquidity in the banking sector. However, when you see this liquidity, availability of liquidity is one side of it, and the industry, the aptitude to take, to absorb this liquidity is another question. So unless you have a demand generated in the market, demand side, the supply side is good. I mean, we have excellent supply side, liquidity is made available. But industry needs to gear up and see if they have a demand to their goods, services, then only this liquidity will be absorbed. However, you have a framework laid down for extending advances, giving credit. So the bankers, either it's a private bank or a public bank, they do follow their own systems and see how this liquidity is transmitted to the sectors wherein there is a requirement. So these supply and demand side has to match. Yes, today we have a liquidity side. There's a huge liquidity available in the market, but demand side needs to be generated. However, this generation of demand depends on how we unlock our economy and see how we revive. Probably give some more time so that things try and open up and then gear up for the future.
So there is a concept of golden hour in an accident, that the precious 1 hour or 2 hours then after an accident, like if the medical aid is not provided, then we have lost the patient. The the I, the Because of this sudden situation, like 5 days have passed. There are MSMEs and SMEs who are sitting on zero revenue, and they are sitting on zero collection of revenues. And because of the lockdown situation, all offices are shut. So income is zero and expense is like piling up in terms of rentals, EMIs, wages, and all other expenses. So there is a concern which is like keep on coming in like newspapers every day if you read, that government of India needs to act faster and very fast to infuse support to the MSME and SME sector. And if that doesn't happen, like just 10 days back, we had an interaction with the Niti Aayog, with the travel operators associations. And they were like saying if there is a no early support coming from the government, they are saying that in next 3 months, there will be death of several small operators, travel agents, and taxi operators, and all the various SME and MSME will have a really breathing problem. So the taking a view of what the like how other governments have supported, like USA, Canada, Korea, and various others have announced relief packages for the small and medium enterprises sector. Do you think that a more urgent and immediate attention is needed here, Devraji?
Yeah, the other economies, they did come out with a quick response to the crisis. I do accept. The first and second week of the crisis itself, US came out with a $2 billion package. But our economy, despite union government and state governments, we are an emerging economy. Whereas we cannot compare ourselves with highly advanced economies. That I think one should keep in mind. So our resources, availability of liquidity and asset value, and the economy, the value of economy are limited. When you compare ourselves with a $20 billion economy like USA, we are hardly $2.7 trillion. So that should be almost like 20% of the size of the economy. So we need to keep these two as baselines and then see how we respond. But as he was said, the industry, various sectors of the economy are expecting a lot of things. I mean, the demands are huge and large. However, probably government should be coming out gradually. I mean, these don't come. The shock is huge. Shock came suddenly, and the impact is huge. However, the economy has the capacity to absorb such kind of shocks, but definitely will bounce back. But this delay, but there's no delay. Actually, Government of India announced the first package it's almost like 25 days back they announced it. But gradually, we need to see what resources available with the governments. See, as you said, SMEs have lost out their revenues. Their turnover in the last 2 months is almost like zero. They don't have cash balances to pay the wages also, isn't it? The same way, even the government status is also there.
Exactly. So
unless we sell goods and services, we don't get GST. Unless we sell some other goods, we don't get excise. Unless we operate imports and exports, we don't have customs duty. So the entire income, revenue streams of government are also stopped. So like SMEs, even the public sector, even the governmental institutions are starved of cash. So how do you make available the liquidity? Where do you cut it down? How do you make available? Is a major exercise.
exactly.
I'm sure government is doing its best to come out with something.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Just I read in the paper that the Kerala CM has announced that the salary cuts for government employees and DH have been freezed in central government also. So we all are aware that government is also fighting with the cash situation. The excise revenue has like gone to zero. The GST revenue is like zero. So
I don't know why you took excise only.
that's the biggest revenue earner in many states,
Yeah.
like Kerala,
Like in Punjab also.
all Punjab also.
Sorry.
So that's why I like pointed out that some states have demanded that at least keep the excise open, let the revenue happen. So Raman, question to you that in this catch-22 situation, where the government is also like struggling with the finances, and there is a demand from the all the sectors for relief. So, what is the way out? Your inputs.
See, it's very difficult to put a written down roadmap because see, as we said, there are two things. One, we do not have anything to fall back from, to learn from the past, because such an event has never happened in the past, at least in mine and your lifetimes. Whatever happened, we are told is more than 100 years ago. So, and I think to that extent, the government's thought process of going and taking a graded approach is correct. Because you cannot, at this level, with government resources, as Mr. Devra rightly said, itself being scarce. And let's also not forget that just before COVID happened, our economy, we were already, grappling with a slowdown,
Yes.
right? Although we were still growing, but it was a slowdown compared to the previous years. So we were still grappling at that stage, and then this happened. So the stress on the government revenues is tremendous. We understand, and that's why I think the government is. So I think the way out has to be a graded approach. Set your priorities. Which sector need the help immediate, which can be put some for. So I think that's what they did. First thing was a direct benefit transfer to the informal. Whether it's a construction worker or any housewife, straight money to their hands. Now is being talked about the MSMEs or the real small-time people. And going ahead, it will be done for other sectors. I think I'm sure, and government and Niti Aayog, they're all working on this. So I think the way out has to be a graded approach. And on the revenue part, yes, as you said, correctly, unless things start moving, fresh revenue trickling does not happen. So obviously the way, and as we look at it, one way, for example, when I say credit was that instead of, government putting in the entire money, there is a thought process going on that create an SPV where initial equity is put by government, and then that SPV, raises money, and then that money is utilized. So it's kind of leveraging on the strengths of other institutions and the general market instead of government putting in entire money. But yes, it is a challenge. It's not an easy task. The way forward is to go step by step graded and plan based on what resources you have at your disposal.
So, if you allow, there are questions from the audience, and like if we can take some questions.
Sure.
Devraji, is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah, Raman, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So okay. So, like on the bottom of your screen, there is a button on called Q&A, and I will take the questions from here. There is a question on China's loss, India's gain. Is that will be the new world order on economic front post-COVID? So this is a question. Yeah. Inputs.
Yeah.
So
See, the China, because of the corona and its impact worldwide, one needs to understand, yes, China's credibility as an economy is dented. So, given this background and given this fact, do industries located in China migrate to different economies? If they migrate, do they prefer coming to India? This is a question. And do we have any competitors in the world who can compete with us? Suppose a Japanese company is trying to migrate from China to different countries. Do they prefer coming to India? Do they prefer going to Vietnam? Do they prefer going to any other South Asian country? Or do they prefer going to Europe? So we have our own advantages. The major advantage is the labor availability, which is cheap.
Yeah.
And apart from that, government is also quite friendly. Working with the government after ease of doing business in India has become much smoother, easier, and speedier. So some industries may prefer coming to India, but that doesn't mean China would let them go like that, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Chinese government also would try and see how they can retain their own
Yes.
the industries, how they expand their portfolios. So lot of things get into making of a decision in moving from one country to other country. So we do see some chances, but the way it is projected, saying that entire manufacturing industry and service sector and ITES sectors would migrate to India would be a wishful thinking. But definitely there'll be chances. But how do these subnational governments like Maharashtra or MP or Gujarat, how do they play it out? And how does the government of India facilitate these attractions is quite important. But let us not see into a big way investments will be coming in. Definitely, some of the industries who are located in India as well as in China, they may try and expand their own industries in India instead of expanding in China. That may happen. So investments may come, but total migration of industries as such may not happen. It all depends on different environment we create and how do we attract with the different packages is important. But take my word, there are other countries who are competitors to India, like Vietnam. Vietnam is the same sort of environment, same sort of race, same culture. So people may prefer going there. Also, even the governments are there aggressively looking for foreign investments. So even other countries like Bangladesh, our neighbor, Bangladesh is also one of the preferred destinations. So we have competitors. Even Sri Lanka can be one of our competitors. So it's a small country, it can be a competitor. So there are competitors available in the world to attract industries from China to different countries. So we are not the only destination. Yes, we have the advantage of democratic functioning. Definitely, that can be one of the major advantages.
Any comments on this one, Raman? You want to comment on this?
No, I think I was hearing a very senior IMF official yesterday talk about it, the same, because this is something which has been discussed. Yes, see, there is an opportunity because let us also understand the so-called opportunity has arisen out of a sentiment which has gone negative against China as of now. We also know human nature that such sentiments don't last very long. So we don't know. But yes, I agree there is an opportunity. But and if we can do certain things right, as Mr. Devra clearly spelled out, there is an opportunity. But let's not totally, look as if something suddenly the entire world manufacturing will shift from China to India. No. But yes, things should change and are bound to change. Government of the day is quite friendly and doing a lot for ease of doing business. So I do see your.
There is another question that coronavirus outbreak has given us an opportunity to enact bold economic reforms. Do you believe that we should exploit this crisis to bring significant changes in our economic policies? Devraji.
See, it's a great opportunity for us. See, today, before COVID situation came in place, we were struggling ourselves with sanitation programs. That Swachh Bharat program. We have that Digital India program, wherein we were trying to digitize our activities. Aadhaar was there. There was a lot of resistance. Today, the entire world is changed. Today, hygiene, sanitation, good living has become facts of life. So there are other ways of looking at it, even digitization of various activities. So earlier, DBTs were not that much. Today, everything is depending. I mean, you don't prefer going to a bank because you may contract virus. So you are doing online banking, you are doing online transfers. So things are changing it, and we ourselves are also adapting to it quite fast. Only thing is, you need to see how other sections, especially the marginalized groups, vulnerable groups who don't have access to technology, who don't have telecommunication equipment or internet connection, how do you tackle them is a challenge. But yes, we are moving forward to a digital.
Sure. Raman, you want to comment on this economic reform?
Yeah, so see, we are already seeing, as I said, there is always an opportunity in corruption, and a lot of bold measures need to be taken. Government is ready to take that. There is a lot of rethinking happening, and as I said, suddenly words like digital, words like India-centric, words like, as Mr. Devra said, hygiene, healthcare, these are the talk of the town, as they say. Everybody is talking about it. Earlier, how many people talked about healthcare as an important? Yes, it was important, but not. Now we realize the kind of importance it is given. So there is going to be a paradigm shift in terms of the preferences or the priorities given to sectors. So we see the so-called most hygienic countries of the West have seen the worst effect of this pandemic, because they somewhere down the line perhaps neglected their immunity systems. As I was reading somewhere, as like a BCG was done away with, thinking that okay, this can never happen to us. The whole priorities have changed. Another important factor, things going forward, we've suddenly realized the environment friendliness. Everybody is sharing pictures, photographs of how clean the environment has become. Suddenly you see a lot of, people say, you see animals coming, you see peacocks in cities, you have, some wild animals straying into towns. Suddenly that the care and the beauty of the nature has come into limelight. I'm sure going forward, all these are going to be carried ahead, and they will form part of some economic policies also, which are in terms of allocations done to these sectors, which are very important. Let me draw one very excellent example, which I have personally even written about to even Honorable Prime Minister, the work from home culture. I think this is something which is the biggest gainer going to be out of this case. Look at the amount of employment opportunities work from home can create. Imagine from women folk who are forced to stay home because of taking care of young small children, infants, or of some ailing elderlies. They are forced. But a work from home can open up a plethora of opportunities. Look at people, a company sitting in Chennai can hire a person staying somewhere in a remote area in Himachal and pay him accordingly. So it's going to open up a huge opportunity from work from home. But yes, what would be needed? A very strong digital backup, internet connection, telecommunication. So all that allocations will change. And this will happen for
Sure. Let me proceed to the next question. Question is like, how is pandemic affecting food systems, food security, and agriculture livelihoods? Devraji, you want to respond on this?
Sorry, what is the question?
How is pandemic affecting the food systems, food security, and agriculture livelihoods?
The pandemic, whether it is affecting food systems is questionable. We can debate on that. But however, the lockdown did impact. As a result of COVID and pandemic, we did impose the lockdown. As a result, you see the food security issues in especially rural parts of India. That is a major question, but Government of India is trying to reach it out. Government of India and other the state governments are trying to reach out to the people with the food grains, through the public distribution system and various other networks. Even the CSR activities, lot of corporates, lot of NGOs, lot of other institutions are working their best to see, to reaching out to people who are hungry, who are in need of food. So apart from that thing, COVID per se may not have impacted the food security.
Just a additional.
Impact. Very phenomenal. We are in lockdown for the. Yeah.
Sorry, I had lost you in the between. Yeah. So maybe move on the next question. That are we planning to come up with a relief package for goods and transport industry? If yes, what can we expect? I think this is a open question which I don't know. Devlai, you want to say this?
You want me to answer?
Yes, yes.
Yes. As everyone in the country is expecting a package to be announced, the first package is announced in the form of for the corporates and other sector, for the banking sector. But even the local governments like Kerala government has announced a package of 20,000 crores for the Kerala state. Like that, every government is working out its own packages. But however, the union government, being the federal government, probably they are also working on that. Quite soon, we may have some package announced. That's what the entire the country is awaiting.
Sure. There is a question like there are two questions on migrant laborers. How severely the issue of migrant laborers will affect the Maharashtra in the near future? How will the building and other construction workers welfare fund help registered construction workers? There's another similar question that we are talking about after COVID-19, but as we are from the transport industry, how can we bring our manpower like drivers from UP, MP and other parts of India? Because bringing them back to Mumbai when we are in red zone and engaging every day, how to make them understand and make them feel secure for COVID-19. So both of migrant laborers issues. So
yeah, first is the migrant labor issue. The second one is about the construction workers.
yes,
So let me take the migrant labor issue in Maharashtra. Probably the same thing in the rest of the country also. Yes, I mean, immediately after the lockdown, just before lockdown, there was a large, huge number of people, lakhs of people have moved out of Mumbai to different parts. Especially we have migrant labor coming from UP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Odisha, to some extent from West Bengal too. So most of the people, some of the people have gone back to their own native places, native towns and other areas. But as of today, we have at least in the migrant labor camps around 6 lakh people being taken care by the government. So once the lockdown opens up, do you expect these 6 lakh or 7 lakh people who are in the camps and other people who are not in the camps but staying in Mumbai and Pune and in other urban areas, do they continue to stay in Maharashtra or do they prefer going back to their own native places for some time or returning back? So I have a feeling, I do sense these people, once the lockdown opens up, may prefer going back to their own native places, native states, native places, and native towns for two reasons. One is, in the matter of crisis, when you have a crisis, ongoing crisis, whether personal, family, or any other crisis, you tend to be back in your hometown, back with your family, back with your own kith and kin, and you feel comfortable. Even if you are not earning much, you feel comfortable being in your own environments. So for that reason, people may prefer growth. Apart from that, generally summer, monsoons, agricultural operations, farming operations start. So people go back to their own villages. Our migrant labor is not like a permanent migrant. These are circular migration wherein they come for some work, stay here for 2-3 months or 5 months, and go back to their villages. This is how our migrant labor works, unlike in European countries, wherein migration is permanent, whereas here it is a temporary migration, 6 months in a year. So during this part of the year, they go back and take care of these agricultural operations, work there as wage laborers, earn. Once the agriculture season gets over, then once again they try and come back to Mumbai, Pune and other cities. So given these conditions, the time of the year, I do see migrant labor going back to the villages. Already 50% of them left. And rest of the people who are held back as a result of lockdown, they may prefer going back. But local governments will be trying their best to see how do they retain these labor to continue the economy, especially the real estate and other businesses, wherein we have a huge migrant workers working in these sectors. That is one part of it. Second question is the building construction labor. Even building construction labor, the same principle would be applying. If you see at the end of it, I foresee after 4 months, 5 months, they may return back once the agriculture kharif season is over. That's what it looks like.
Sure. Sir, there is a question in Marathi. If like it's on the top, it's the first question actually. So if you can read it, because I cannot read it. So if you can read and answer, that would be nice.
Sorry, I also can't read Marathi, so I think Mr. Devra can.
Say migrant labor, other vulnerable groups, they don't have ration cards and they don't get ration. It's a specific question, probably, yeah. So basically the question is the vulnerable sections who are not having ration cards, they are not being provided with the rations, free ration, which government of India is giving during this COVID period. So they are denied of these things. Probably they can get in contact with the local administration like Tahsildar or SDO or collector and see how these things can be. But this is an issue. Definitely there are a large section of people who are left out of the PDS system, that is public distribution system. But they are not getting the rations, required rations.
And Raman, you want to pick any questions and you want to address it? Like if you can.
I have to scan down if anything. I think we've answered that. Economic reform, we've said that. We've answered about the China thing also. So there are 2-3 questions related to that.
Yes.
And support structure and initiatives and the what is the scope of building provision? Yeah, so I think one person has talked about, somebody's asked about, with reference to stimulus packages, what is the scope of bundling of provisions on existing schemes? How do we address the migrant food needs? That's, I think, Mr. Devra has already answered. And how do you look at opportunities for local economic stimulus? Given declined 1% fiscal devolution under 15th Finance Commission, how do you see the post-COVID scenario for macroeconomic recovery? So, see, basically, as I understand, first of all, yes, I agree. When such stimulus packages, and I think that is where people often quote that the so-called stimulus is announced in the earlier global slowdown, did backfire to a certain extent in the long run. It is very important to ensure that the existing schemes are not thrown haywire when you announce such stimulus packages. Because to an extent, let's accept these are sudden reactions to a sudden event which has happened. And I think that to that extent, government of the day is pretty much aware and sensitive too. And we are seeing, it's an extension of the existing scheme. So when you talk of, giving additional ration, it's through the existing PDS system. Giving money to people using the direct benefit transfer schemes and using the existing JAM treaty. So I think to that extent, government is quite aware. Now, when it comes to fiscal part, I have a slightly different take on. I think such situations, while it is correct, economists are economists and it is their job, it is their specialization to analyze and see. But I think for some time, as decision makers, as policy makers, to some extent, we need to stop worrying too much about these numbers. Yes, they do matter, I'm not saying, but a 0.5% here or somewhere there going ahead, I think should not be idea. As he was also saying, let us ensure how to get back on track, how to get the wheels of the economy start rolling, give some money in people's hand as there is some amount of demand created, some relief is given, and not worry too much about the fiscal, things like fiscal deficit, how much will it slip around, somebody puts it at some 3.8, 4.4, something like that. So I think those are things, let's leave it to the economists. They are experts, let them do it. But let's not get too worried or carried away with such, because that is what I would say.
Devraji, you want to pick any question which looked interesting?
Hey, about fiscal deficit, what Raman Agarwal was studying. Yes, we may not be directly concerned, but as the fiscal managers of the country, we will definitely be worried about fiscal deficit, country rating, and once you cross that line of say 3.5 or 4, then a lot of things step into our thing. So the entire economy gets into different treatment. So we do need to bother about fiscal economy. But however, as the union government, as the state government, as the pillars of the economy, these two, the nation, sub-nation governments and nation government, they should step in and anchor the economy so that economy doesn't further go down. So to that extent, the government should come out with a package and help various sectors which are hit hard. At the same time, try and see how we can keep a balance for our fiscal movement.
So I think many of the questions are similar around China, stimulus, and other things. So that have been discussed. So may I request for closing remarks from both of our panelists. So may I request Raman to your views on the way forward and by when it may we will come out of this situation. If you can talk about.
So, first of all, as I said, it's very difficult to predict, to exactly point out, when can we exactly come out, because we are still uncertain about how long is this pandemic going to last and when are we going to see the impacts. Obviously, as Mr. Devra also mentioned, the hot topic and everybody is looking at is when will the vaccine be available across. Although, as we proudly see, some Indian companies also getting into it, and we are hearing we may be fortunate enough to have it in September itself. So if that happens, that'll be great. But one thing I'm sure that even once the lockdown opens and things start rolling, from there onwards, at least 2 quarters is what we need to wait and see some things happening, because till that, things will be quite slow and to take off. There are challenges. Of course, migrant labor is one major challenge for any labor-intensive industry when you talk of manufacturing, especially, or construction, which are huge employment generators. But as I said, let's look at the opportunities which this crisis is creating. We have discussed some of them, and let's not get too bogged down. Things are looking gloomy. Idea is to first ensure safety, health safety, take care of ourselves and take care of our people around, and then move ahead. Government is right in taking a graded approach, but yes, I think some relief should be announced pretty soon for the small time MSMEs and the business people, because the cost of paying wages, some other waste, fixed costs like energy, etc., are bearing too much, and that relief is, I think, needs to be announced pretty soon. Things can go at this end, and government continues to be responsive. We are hopeful.
Devraji, your
Yeah.
response on the
So
recovery.
I would like to conclude with 2-3 points. First point is let the industry, other sectors who are expecting too much from government. So let these expectations be little less, given our resources level, given our strength. So we should not expect too much out of packages. Let us all get together and see how our economy, which is in standstill last 2 months, gets back to track and then start going. I'm sure it will not start immediately like it was. Like any other industry, it will take its own time. As Raman said, no, it may take 2 quarters or more than 2 quarters to get back to full stream. So that is one part of it. But COVID as such, the virus is evolving. So there's no guarantee by June or July it will come to an end. So it may slow down, may once again reappear after monsoons or during winter. So there's no guarantee unless and until we have a vaccine to it or a cure. So until then, our lifestyles, our economy has to adjust to the COVID situation. So how do we adjust? There are some industries which are highly impacted, deeply impacted. They are hit hard. So these industries sectors, they need to see how they can adapt to the COVID times. And COVID times are throwing up a new opportunity in the form of new business opportunities, new work styles. So people who are thrown out of business, who are thrown out of work, they should try and adapt themselves to the new lifestyles, new work styles, and see how they can fit themselves into a new business. That is one part of it. In the process, one should try and see how you can reskill yourself so that you fit perfectly into the new requirements of a business. Even from the government side, the people who are thrown out of business, they should try and give a helping hand in the form of either giving new skill sets to them or helping hand for the vulnerable groups by government, either by cash transfers or by any other mode of help to these sections. With these things, I believe definitely we can cross these milestones. See, earlier when the global financial crisis happened, we thought this is the worst ever crisis we have faced. Luckily, we were isolated from that crisis, but the entire world faced it. Even we did feel the impact, but not that much. But even this crisis will come and go. But how do we come out of it with strength is depending on our own capabilities and skills.
So I think we had some great discussions, great insights on various aspects of the crisis and ways for recovery. And I thank all the panelists, Devraji and Manaswal, for joining us. And I thank our audience who have been very active in asking questions and also joining us on the Facebook. I will request all the audience to please share this video on the Facebook so that more and more people get benefited by the insightful discussions we had just now. With this, thank you.
I thank all the audience who have participated here, and I wish Ravi will be organizing many more such webinars for the benefit of the audience and for my benefit also. It's wonderful being here.
Thank you.
Great initiative, Mr. Ravi.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Everybody, please stay safe and take care of yourself.
Yes.
Stay home too.
Stay home. Absolutely.
Stay home, everyone, please.
Yes.
Yes. So with this, thank you, everyone, and namaskar to each of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.